Take a look at this photograph. It was taken over 100 years ago. The clothes, the hairstyles, the expressions on their faces, everything belongs to a bygone era. Everything except for one thing. This object right here. It shouldn't be here. It hadn't been invented. It didn't exist. And yet, there it is, in the hands of someone from the past, like quiet, impossible proof that someone broke the universe's most fundamental law, the law of time. History is something we consider unshakable, a documented, studied, and ordered past. But what if there are cracks in this solid wall of facts? What if there are artifacts that simply don't fit into the accepted timeline? Today, we won't be talking about legends. We will be talking about evidence you can see with your own eyes, about photographs that force us to ask a terrifying question: were we alone in the past? If you're ready to question reality, subscribe to our channel and ring that bell. We are about to go hunting for ghosts from the future. Let's start with the most famous and perhaps the most compelling anomaly. The year is 1941, at the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in Canada. A photograph exists from this event. In it, a crowd of people are dressed in the fashion of the 40s, hats, formal suits, dresses, and standing among them is him, a man who looks like he got lost on his way to a 21st century music festival. He's wearing modern-style sunglasses, a t-shirt with a printed logo, and a stylish haircut. In his hands, he holds something that looks remarkably like a portable camera, far more compact than the bulky devices of that time. He is an anomaly. He's been nicknamed the time-traveling hipster. Skeptics and historians, of course, couldn't ignore this. They picked his appearance apart piece by piece, and here's what they found. The sunglasses with side shields, though rare, did exist at the time, worn by people like mountain climbers. The logo t-shirt turned out to be a sweater with the emblem of the Montreal Maroons, a hockey team that existed in those years. And the camera in his hands is supposedly a foldable Kodak model, which were quite popular then. It sounds convincing, but even with all these explanations, his overall appearance, his posture, his complete detachment from the surrounding crowd create an effect that's impossible to shake. He just doesn't belong. Now let's go even further back in time. Around 1938, in footage from an old American newsreel, we see a crowd of female factory workers leaving their shift. They are laughing and talking, and among them walks a young woman. She is holding a palm-sized object to her ear and talking into it, gesturing animatedly. Her behavior is identical to that of a modern person talking on a cell phone, but this is 1938. The first portable two-way radios weighed dozens of pounds. Commercial mobile phones were still 45 years away. What is she holding in her hand? Researchers of this phenomenon have spent years trying to find an explanation. The most popular theory is that it was a prototype of a portable radio receiver being tested at the time. Perhaps she was listening to news or music. But why is she talking into it, and with such natural, casual gestures? Others believe it's just an optical illusion, that she's fixing her hair or scratching her ear. But if you watch the video in slow motion, you can see the clear outline of a rectangular object and the way she's speaking, not just touching her head. This case still lacks a definitive explanation. Photographs aren't the only witnesses. In 1937, the Italian artist Umberto Romano painted a mural titled "Mr. Pynchon and the Settling of Springfield." It depicts a scene from the 17th century, showing English colonists and Native Americans. And there, in the foreground, a Native American man sits, staring at a small rectangular object in his hand. He holds it exactly as we hold a smartphone, swiping at it with his thumb. The object is black, sleek with clean edges. He looks at it with the same expression we have while scrolling through a news feed. In a painting of the 17th century created in 1937 is an object from the 21st century. Art histories have offered their own theories. Perhaps it's a blade from an axe made of black slate. Perhaps it's a mirror that the natives received in trade from the colonists, and he is studying his reflection with wonder. Or maybe it's a religious text bound in leather. But none of these versions explain why he holds it in that specific way and why his posture and expression so accurately mirror modern interaction with a gadget. The artist died in 1982, so we will never know what he truly painted. Did he leave us a coded message, or was it just a coincidence? Why do these images fascinate us so much? This is where a psychological phenomenon called pareidolia comes into play. It's our brain's tendency to see familiar patterns and faces in random objects, like in clouds or the patterns on wallpaper. Our brains are so trained to recognize smartphones, sunglasses, and other modern items that we start to see them where they don't exist. We see not what is there, but what we expect to see, projecting our world onto the past. It's a logical, scientific explanation, but can it truly explain every single case? Let's consider a case where pareidolia doesn't quite work. The painting Man Hands a Letter to a Woman in a Hall by Peter de Hook from 1670. In it, we see the titular scene, but the man's expression is key. He is looking at the letter with a sense of bewilderment, as if he has just received a message from the future. His posture screams shock. The artist didn't just paint a scene, he painted a reaction to an impossible object. This is no longer just a random similarity, it's an emotion captured on canvas, the emotion of encountering an anachronism.
All right, let's set aside skepticism for a moment and imagine that at least one of these pieces of evidence is real. Is time travel even possible from a scientific standpoint? Einstein's theory of relativity doesn't forbid travel to the future. As an object approaches the speed of light, time slows down for it. But traveling to the past is a different story entirely. It creates endless logical traps, like the famous grandfather paradox. If you go back in time and prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother, you will never be born. But if you were never born, who went back to the past? However, modern physics offers a few loopholes. For instance, the theory of wormholes or Einstein-Rosen bridges, hypothetical tunnels in space-time that could connect different eras. Another, even more fascinating, theory is the multiverse theory. According to it, every action creates a new parallel universe. If a time traveler goes back and changes something, they don't change their own past, but simply create a new timeline, a new universe. In this case, the grandfather paradox is resolved. The traveler would simply exist in a world where their alternate version was never born. If time travelers exist, why are they hiding? Why not make contact? Perhaps there's some kind of temporal prime directive, a law forbidding interference. Any significant change to the past could lead to unpredictable consequences for the future via the butterfly effect. Therefore, maybe time travelers are just tourists or observers, strictly forbidding influencing events. Their job is simply to watch. And these photographs and paintings are the rare moments when they accidentally got caught on camera. Mistakes that were never supposed to happen. Anomalies aren't just found in photographs. We have the Antikythera mechanism, an incredibly complex geared device found in an ancient Greek shipwreck, with a complexity that was 1,000 years ahead of its time. Or the Baghdad battery, a clay pot with a copper cylinder and an iron rod that could have been an ancient galvanic cell. History is full of such out-of-place artifacts. Are they proof of lost ancient technologies? Or are they traces left by visitors from the future who tried to recreate their devices from local materials? We can endlessly analyze the shadows in old pictures and the brushstrokes on ancient canvases. We can explain it all away with coincidences, tricks of light, and pareidolia. Or we can allow for the possibility that reality is far more complex and amazing than we think. These images are like windows. And when we look through them, we momentarily see a reflection not only of the past, but perhaps of our own future. They remind us that history is not a finished book, but a living, changing text where someone might still be leaving notes in the margins. And the biggest question isn't what these people are holding in their hands. It's who exactly is looking back at us from these old photographs.